celebrating and honoring famed abolitionist and Dorchester County native Harriet Tubman. Now, earlier this week, we told you about Tubman Bicentennial celebrations that are happening at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad State Park.
Today, we're digging deeper into the faith of our favorite freedom fighter on what happens to be her day of death anniversary 109 years ago. And to help with that, Secrets of the Eastern Shore author Jim Duffy. How you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great. A wonderful subject today.
Indeed.
So we're concentrating on her faith, which was rock solid.
Yeah, you know, there's 50 different stories about Harriet Tubman, such an American hero that you could tell here. But I kind of decided to focus on faith because it fell on the anniversary of her death. The people who spent time with her in the last couple weeks of her life as she was kind of drifting in and out of consciousness, they just talked about the power of her faith. She was always reciting Bible verses. She was talking about chariots coming down from heaven to get her. The best quote was, "I've been firing up for my journey a long time now. I'm almost home."
Oh my.
Yeah.
So where did all this faith come from?
That's my favorite story about her in a way. It starts in a tragic way. So she's living in a town called Bucktown, and some of our viewers might be familiar with the Bucktown Village store that's there. It's one of the places where you can go and really walk in her footsteps. She was sent there as a young girl, landed in the middle of a mess. There was an overseer from a nearby farm who was chasing a young boy. Not a boy, he wasn't running away in the sense of running away from slavery, he was just running away because he was in a mess. And that overseer asked young Harriet to help him grab the boy, and Harriet refused. That's kind of known as her first act of defiance. But it ended in a really kind of tragic fashion when that overseer tried to throw a 2-pound hardware store weight that they used on the scales and tried to throw it at the boy who was running away from him and hit Harriet right in the head. Now, Harriet had been, she's a teenage girl, and she'd been worried about her appearance, and she was worried that her hair was too dirty, so she'd wrapped a scarf around her head, and that weight hit her right in the head, and she always said later that that scarf is what saved her life. She very nearly died. She spent months in bed, years recovering from her physical injuries, which thankfully she did, but the historian Kate Clifford Larson has done some really great medical detective work, and she identified this condition called temporal lobe epilepsy that people get after suffering head injuries. And it manifests itself in hearing voices and in seeing visions and in having these narcoleptic episodes where you fall asleep out of the blue at like random, unpredictable times and have these intense dreams. And Harriet Tubman's faith is built around this sort of mental illness, if you will, because she took those voices and those visions to be the voice of God. And she's rightly renowned for her smarts and her intelligence and her trickery and everything else along the Underground Railroad while she's managing these escapes. But there were like 2 or 3 times where she was really in a corner and she had nowhere to turn. And what she did in those cases was get down on her knees and pray to God. And miraculously, it always kind of worked out when she didn't have any hope at all.
God works in mysterious ways.
God works in mysterious ways. Have you ever had anybody on the show where you guys got a little bit lost and your guest came out and said exactly the right thing and kind of saved the day?
Saved the moment.
I was given a talk about the Underground Railroad in Selbyville, and a woman said, I don't like what you're saying with this story because it makes it sound like God did everything and Harriet did nothing. It's a good question, right? And I was trying to figure out what to say when another woman in the audience jumped in, and she said, "Oh no." She said, "Do you know how much courage it takes to actually listen to the voice of God? And do you know how much smarts and discernment it takes to sort the voice of God out from all the other jumble of thoughts and everything else going on in your head?"
Wow.
And ended up kind of comparing it to the way Christians revere the prophets of the Old Testament because they had that gift of discernment and that courage to follow the voice of God. So indeed, God works in mysterious ways. All started in Bucktown with a tragic incident, and this faith just grew and grew and grew. And helped her turn into the American hero we know.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Secrets of the Eastern Shore author Jim Duffy, as always, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.